and I'm going to start recording. So thanks everyone for joining. I'm Sarah Mack. I'm a writer and mindset coach for creatives, and I'm very happy to announce that we have a special guest, Charlotte Pridmore, today. She is an incredible, multi-passionate creative, mum of two, super successful businesswoman. She's generated millions in sales in her previous business. She's now working as a self-love and law of attraction coach, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm really excited to share her incredible wisdom and value with you all. Thank you so much for joining us, Charlotte.
Pleasure.
Do you want to give us, this is what I've decided I'm going to start doing, is just asking everyone to give us a little story of like how they got to where they are today, you know, what led you to becoming a coach, and, you know, what were sort of the drivers behind the decision to do this work that you're doing.
Oh, how long have we got? Okay, I'll give you the short version. Short term, like, life story was I moved to London when I was 19, lived there for 10 years, did loads of corporate jobs, never really found anything that I wanted to get my teeth stuck into. I was in a relationship for that 10 years. We bought a house, we did all the normal stuff that you do when you're in a relationship in your 20s. I had a baby, we had a baby, and I left that relationship 6 months after that happened. I moved back home, I was 30 at this point, so started life again at 30 basically, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I was a single mom on benefits, earning nothing, living with my mom and dad, and in a pretty horrific situation. However, always had this sort of deep-rooted feeling that there was something more. And I actually retrained as a hairdresser because my mum was one. I just wanted something I could do flexibly around my little boy. And I did that for 5 years. That was great, but I just always had this deep-rooted feeling that there was definitely more to life, and that I had this thing, this quite, calling's a bit corny, but I suppose let's call it that, to do more. So 5 years into my hairdressing career, I just said, this can't be it. About the same time, I got introduced to a network marketing business, got introduced to that, did that, you know, while having my second, actually reached my first position, you know, enough position to leave my hairdressing job 3 weeks after having my second son, and that went really well, and that was really what started the really deep sort of rooted work on myself. I've been into personal development forever, but this is where it sort of really started to hone itself down, and I reached really good big success in that business. But over the last 2 years, I've had a really tough last couple of years in the business. And I just got to the point where, again, I was like, there's got to be something more. This itch still hasn't been scratched. And for want of a better phrase. And so what happened was, somebody said to me about a year ago, you ought to be a coach. I was like, really? I was like, I didn't know I could do that, because I'd seen other people doing it and thought, oh my God, that's literally like my dream job. Because the thing I loved most about my network marketing business was the coaching of the people, is showing somebody how to become more than they are. In the sense that become what they want themselves to be in order to achieve their dreams. That was sort of the bit I loved about it. However, sometimes you have to coach people that want to be coached, and sometimes that wasn't the case. It was quite frustrating. Anyway, long story short, sorry. I then went on did my ultimate coaching qualification. So I'm NLP trained, timeline therapy trained, which started that whole journey. And then really recently, I've been doing a lot of sort of the spirituality side of things, a lot of that law of attraction, and really the thing that I'm passionate about is somebody loving themselves. So I went from being very, very low self-esteem, not looking after myself very well, treating myself badly, not respecting myself, to the person I'm now, and that's been a massive transformation for me. So my passion is really showing people how to get back to love, like get back to love it, being in love with themselves. And then all this work I've been doing on law of attraction recently, I just didn't understand the massive link between self-love and law of attraction, because you might think you're trying to manifest all these things, whether that be wealth, success, a relationship, whatever it is, into your life, but if you don't think you're worthy of it, then it's never going to come. So literally, this only happened in the sort of the last month. I mean, I got goosebumps. It was that mad. Like, this thing just hit me in the face, and I was just like, oh my God, like, that's the missing thing that I've been looking for, because my coaching has always been about using NLP processes and timeline therapy processes, which I'm massively a fan of, and I love them, but I wanted stuff that sort of filled that out, and that people could use on a daily basis, like practical tools that people could use to keep that themselves high vibe and high in self-love, so they can then attract, you know, the awesome life that they want. So that's sort of where it was very quickly brought me to where I am today. So lots of reading, lots of Wayne Dyer, and lots of you know, I said to my husband, I said, in a few weeks' time, I'm going to have a Buddha tattoo and wear dreamcatcher earrings, like it's going.
Have you considered a lotus flower, perhaps? Amazing. Yeah, and it's such an important conversation, and one that I'm definitely having as well, through, you know, all of my live streams, courses, programs. But it's so important to that self-worth piece, and it's been the same for me, just going on that journey of, you know, even though I've always been like a really healthy person and like eaten really well and exercised, it's amazing how many ways there are that we are missing out on loving ourselves, you know, like overworking, putting so much pressure on ourselves for trying to be perfectionists, trying to live up to an idea that is just not a fit for us, and trying to force ourselves into a box that we're never going to fit in. And yeah, for women, especially for creative women, trying to find that path that is really loving, that is really authentic and aligned, which a lot of the time we have to do a lot of digging and figuring out what that is, because it's not, you know, like go and become a doctor, or like go and become, this is what has succeeded for a lot of other people. It just isn't going to work for us.
No, and that was one of the things that really blew my mind. Was I read a book called The Four Agreements. It's awesome. And I was sort of reading it, and the thing that really started this off, the thing that hit me in the face was, one of the four agreements is don't take anything personally, both either negative or positive. And obviously I understand the negative. It's like, you know, if somebody else is horrible to you, they're just feeding you their bullshit, and if you eat it, then, you know, that's your fault. But what on the flip side of that, and the thing that really, really had like a big aha was, if somebody tells you you're wonderful, it's lovely, but you shouldn't need it to feel validated. And what I realized is that in my other business, the thing that was keeping me going, and the thing that was making me feel not good enough, was the fact that I was looking for outside validation. That it was, you know, if I would only feel validated and worthy if I was getting told I was doing a really good job by somebody else. And I've always thrived on recognition. I've always thrived on fitting. You know, I used to try and fit in to every situation through school. And the minute I realized that, I was like, oh my fucking God, like, excuse my language, like, oh my God, like, this isn't making me happy. Like, this isn't making me happy, because I'm relying on outside sources in order to feel validated and worthy and loved. And it's lovely that you tell me I'm wonderful, but you should already know that. And it was sort of that set me free. Also, it literally set me free. I mean, the relief was palatable. I cried, because I was just like, once I understood that I had everything in my power, I already had all the answers, that I was trying to please other people in order to please myself. You know, it's madness. And so it was yeah, it's been a massive shift for me. And so therefore, I would like to help you.
Okay, this is absolutely huge, because so many women I speak to when I'm coaching, a lot of us, like a lot of women, have that desire of I'll feel better when I'm validated, like when I've succeeded at the thing I want, when I'm like, when I've achieved this or achieved that, some idea that, you know, I've got that means I'm going to be perfect or successful, then I'll be validated, then I'll feel better. And no, it's not like that. Is never going to make us happy. And it's, you know, why are we like this? Probably because we're just, you know, women's magazines are shoved down our throat. Ever since we're young, we're always told like, oh, you look pretty, or like, you look nice. And people respond well when we're, you know, we're acting out a certain, you know, like way a woman should be, or femininity. And there's so many parts of us that go unvalidated, that we will just kind of walk away from, or leave behind, or suppress and not acknowledge. And that's what kills our happiness. That's what leads to that low self-worth.
I heard a quote that literally blew my head off. And the quote is, it's by a philosopher called Rumi. And it's, I'm not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. I'll just let that blow your mind.
Okay, I am
who I am.
what you
I'm not who you think I am. I am what I think you think I am.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's like you're always reflecting. You're always, you're always looking for a reflection of yourself in the world around you.
Yeah, but that's not even what that person thinks of you. You're trying to be what you think they think you are, and that might not be the case.
Yeah.
I literally like, I was like, wow. So and then the whole law of attraction thing comes into, what makes you feel good in every situation, like in every moment. There is a choice, like what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad, and learning to trust our instinct and learning to trust our inner wisdom and going, do you know what, the most important thing, and this is especially for women and especially for mothers, there was a book written ages ago, I think it was written by Terry Hatcher, who's like that actress from Desperate Housewives. She wrote a book called Burnt Toast, and it's this concept that women they'll burn the toast, they'll be, all right darling, I'll have the burnt toast, I'll make you some fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, it's almost like it's wrong for you to put yourself first. And we all know the cliche of the aeroplane, you've got to put your mask on first before you help somebody else. But for women, I think this is a massive issue, and I think that the thing I love about the whole law of attraction element to loving yourself is that what is the only thing that's important is that you feel good. Like that is your absolute number one priority, is that whatever you're doing, you're feeling good, because if you're feeling good, then energetically you're then attracting more good feeling. If you're doing something it makes you feel bad, and this is another thing with my other business, I mean I still have that business, but I've had to park it. I'm having a sabbatical because nothing I was doing in that was making me feel good. So how am I ever going to get successful in that, or to the level of success that I wanted to get to in it? And the only reason I wanted to get to it was because it would mean I'd get validation from those outside people. But actually, those people don't really give a shit anyway. I just had this, oh my God, like what makes my heart sing? What makes me want to get out of bed every morning? And the only thing that I ask myself now is, does this make me happy? Does this make my heart sing? Would I do this for free? Yes. And if the answer to those three questions is yes, then I'm in. And that's it.
Amazing. I love it. So I was thinking about this the other day. It's interesting that you mentioned that thing about the burnt toast, because one of my best friends has a tattoo on her arm that says, how may I serve? Because, that's just, it is obviously a great thing to like philosophy to live your life by. But then she was talking about how she now sort of doesn't necessarily agree with it for that reason, that women are sort of often placed in this role of servitude and of sacrifice for others. And I was just thinking about that, because ultimately I think to become successful and have a really thriving life, you do serve others, like that is how you do it. But I think the missing piece is that we so often overlook is that we have to serve ourselves first. Like we have to feel really good. We have to take amazing care of us. We have to have great health physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, in order to be able to serve more people.
Yeah, but I think in that, with I think so service to me, like obviously that's what I love to do. That's the thing that makes my heart sing. So is this service making my heart sing? If it's not, so the question is, yes, I want to serve, but is what I'm doing in service making me happy? If it's not, then you're on the wrong path. And that's another thing about intuition and following your gut, and is that that's just your intuition or your inner guidance telling you, bad feeling means you're on the wrong path. And this is another thing that really hit me in the face. I do this a lot. I'll jump around. I apologize now. But
Don't apologize. I love it.
Somebody said in our business, in my other business, the sort of tagline is, you only fail if you quit. Like no one fails unless you quit. And what I realized is that quitting isn't failing. And I've been fed this message, and with the best intentions, don't get me wrong, this wasn't there's been no malice behind this message, but I think as I've got a deeper understanding of all this and I've gone really deep on it, is that actually that's a very limiting message, isn't it? Because what if it's the wrong thing for you? Like, why quitting isn't failing, quitting is just changing direction. And actually I follow Brendan Bouchard a lot, And I've read High Performance Habits, which I absolutely love, and I actually do want to certify as a high performance coach. But in that, he said that actually people who are high achievers quit more than anybody else. They make the decision quickly. And how many times do we hang around in relationships that we shouldn't be? I mean, I spent the last 3 years of my relationship to my eldest and dad when I shouldn't have been in that relationship. How long do we stay in a career long enough because we just can't make the decisions to leave? You know, the point is that it does it, and so the question comes back to that: does this make my heart sing? Does this make me expand, or does it make me contract? If it makes me expand, I'll go with it, trusting that that's the right path for me. And I think so. My everything that I do is always about getting back to listening to who she is. Like, who is that intuition? Like, what does she look like? What does it look like? Mine's like a sparkly love ball. That's what I call it. And so when I do some things like, is sparkly love ball expanding? I'm getting a bit weird now. Or is she contracting? And if she's expanding, then I'm going with it, regardless of whether that means me quitting or failing something else. Because that isn't the point. The point isn't, you're not quitting. You're following your intuition and you're following your path. And that guidance is given to you for a reason. Your dreams are given to you for a reason. Your desires are given to you for a reason. And it's about learning to love yourself first and then following your intuition and trusting that that's the right path.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I was just a bit distracted because I'm just switching the view up because nobody could see you. Everyone could just see me like nodding, very engaged in what you're saying. But thank you, Sarah, for letting us know. Now they can see both of us. Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? We get very attached to just the comfort of what we've done before, and it's having that faith that. And just, yeah, and I think obviously the self-love piece is really important in that, because it's training ourselves to feel good. So the more we feel good, the more it's going to be obvious to us when we're not feeling good, and the more it's almost like, yeah, because we're such habitual creatures, when we're so repetitive in everything that we do. So if we can be really prioritize and be repetitive about feeling good, that's just going to perpetuate. Right, I'm getting out of this, I have to work hard, I have to sacrifice, yada, 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 which a lot of us are very well trained into living like that.
Yeah, and that's mad, isn't it? Because like everything that I've achieved recently has come with complete just joy. Like, I haven't felt like I've worked a day for a long time. And I think, we're told that, this bullshit that, you just have to work really, really hard. It's its own hustle, that's just its own limiting belief in itself, is that I have to work really hard for money and I have to work really hard for success. Well, if you're having to work that hard at it, then maybe it's not the right thing for you. Like, maybe it's not the right path. And I think the thing that I've managed to achieve, which I am so, so grateful for and proud of, is literally not worrying about the consequences of a decision that feels right. Like, this is obviously where I need to go because this is making me feel expansive. This is making me smile. This is making me feel excited, and really, really trusting that. Because so many times before I had this, awakening, and before I had this thought process and this realization, I would feel like I was going in a certain direction, and then my head would get in the way, my ego would get in the way, and I'd go, yeah, but what if this, what if that? Well, what if, the old adage, what if I fail, but my darling, what do you fly? Like, that sums this up perfectly. Like, you're never going to be wrong. If it feels good and it feels right and it's making you expansive, you're not wrong. You're on the right path, and trust it. You can't do that if you doubt yourself, and you can't do that if you don't love, respect, and trust who you are as a person. And you can get there relatively quickly. It's just choosing. Everything is a choice. It's choosing to think a certain way. There's a brilliant process called pivoting. So if you catch yourself going on a negative, saying something negative to yourself, negative thought and negative feeling is the universe telling you that you're off piste, you're off the wrong path. And so you just go to yourself, thanks for showing me what I don't want. Now what do I want? Because bad feeling and negative feeling is just you repeating what you don't want. And so many of us, we actually think that consciously, and obviously all my NLP stuff is all subconscious, so consciously we're saying, I want this. So if it comes to money, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be, five, six, seven figure month, whatever it is for you. And all the time consciously you're saying it and it feels like, yeah, I'm saying it. This is what I want. And so I'm back here, but I don't want to fail, but I don't want that not to happen, but I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my car. I don't want my income to go down. So actually, unconsciously, most of our focus is on what we don't want. So guess what happens? We bring into our life what we don't want. And I am a shining example of how that can go wrong, like really. And when I did all this work and I did all this research and all this reading, I was like, no wonder it went that way. No wonder it went Pete Tong, It's because really I was so worried about it going wrong, but while consciously speaking, because universe law doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to how you feel. So it's about really checking in and getting out of this and getting into your, call it your horror, like you're getting into your solar plexus and how it feels. And that's what responding. So, and I think sometimes we can get so caught up in here that we completely disconnect from the rest of our body and ignore that feeling. And that's when problems arrive, and that's when, it turns up.
Totally. Yeah. Overthinking is the death of anything good. So is there anything that you can share with us that you found really, really helpful, sort of, when you were making that transition, starting to have that new awareness, realizing how you were feeling and that it wasn't supporting you, and kind of what you've been doing to make those shifts?
Yeah, absolutely. So this thing that I'm doing, which I learned off somebody called Sarah Morgan, who is actually a law of attraction coach who massively inspired me. She dream day journaling. So I used to journal. I've got a really solid morning routine, but to be honest, my writing bit of it, my visualization writing bit, got a bit stale. And so I now dream day journal. So every single day I journal my dream day, and that dream day is ridiculously eerie details. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long. It's not always the same day. It's always future paced, and it's always relevant to how I'm feeling. Like that is, I don't ask myself, what do I think about this anymore? I ask myself, what do I feel about this? Like, and it helps because I'm quite a kinesthetic person anyway. But if you're a very head person, start asking yourself that question. Like, okay, I ignore what I think. How does this feel? Because if you're a head person that tends to be in your head all the time, you'll always go with what you think, and it can be complete opposite. And I've done this, so I've got examples of both. I've got examples where I followed my head, not my gut, and I've ended up coming a cropper. So dream day journaling is definitely one that's massively helped get clarity on how I want to feel, setting feel goals rather than monetary goals. And because really, I mean, I've earned lots of money, I've lost lots of money, and I can tell you now, some of my happiest times have been when I haven't got any. And I think that's and in fact, I'm the happiest now, not saying that I haven't got any money, but I'm the happiest now I've ever been, yet it's not the richest I've ever been. And that's a massive thing for me. And what you mentioned earlier about the disease of I'll be happy when, like if you ever say that sentence, then, you're not going to be happy. If you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy when you've got it. Simple as that. And I used to do it all the time. I'll be happy when it's 10 grand a month. I'll be happy when it's 15 grand a month. Like what? Like you lose perspective. Like trust me. Like when I was earning the most I was earning, it was just under about 8,000 a month in my other business. But the people I was hanging around with was earning 20, 30 grand a month, and suddenly my income wasn't enough. And when I look back at that now, I want to like literally hang myself, because I'm just like, what were you thinking? Like that's mad. Like, and I'm not making myself wrong, because I behaved in a way that the information I had at the time, in hindsight's an amazing thing, isn't it? But when you look back, if you're ever saying to yourself, I'll be happy when I've got 10 clients, I'll be happy when I've got, it's never going to happen. You have to learn this is why the self-love thing is so important to me, because you have to learn to love yourself, to be happy now, like be happy with what you have, because then the rest has to come to you, because you're in that high vibe, high feeling vibration that's going to bring more to you. If you're constantly wanting more, be careful of language. Like that's another thing. Get somebody to ask you, or get a friend or your coach or somebody, just talk about yourself and record. In fact, you can do it yourself. Just record yourself talking about you. and listen to your language. And if you say the word want, need, should's a shit. Like should equals shame. Like you should never ever, you know, I just banned should from my vocabulary. But record yourself talking about who you are and who you are as a person, and just go through, and every time you hear you say want, need, or should, replace those with I choose to. So I want loads of money. I choose to earn money because blah, 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 blah. It just feels energetically so different. That I want, because I want just creates more want. I need creates more need. It's just a needy, wanty energy, and nobody likes that. It's like a bad smell. So it's, you know, it's being really conscious of your language, dream day journaling, getting into that feeling, being able to generate the feeling of happiness and joy and abundance now, and consciously getting yourself into that space daily.
Amazing tips. Yeah, I love those. Thank you so much for sharing them. And I think seems to be something that is just across the board. Journaling is just the best way to recondition yourself, because it is all conditioning. You know, we've been trained to like work really hard, make sacrifices, feel shitty to produce a certain tangible result. So learning to live in this completely different way, where you're choosing how you feel on top, and actually beginning to learn the lesson that actually that is the most productive thing you can do sometimes, is take a nap, go to a yoga class, have an afternoon off, say no to something.
Like if you start to feel shitty about something, go and do something that makes your heart sing. Go do something that lights you up. You know, it's so easy to get pulled off that track. It's so easy to get sucked into that old habit of thinking. And I think like we all have thought habits. Like bad habits aren't just physical, they're mental as well. Like we just get into have these bad thought habits. And another really good tip is spend a day or 24 hours being a detective, but in a playful way. Don't make yourself wrong. Just in a playful way. When you hear a negative voice or you hear a thought, write down what it says, whose voice is it, and just be like, gotcha. That's what I don't want. What do I want? And just be a detective very playfully with it, because we unconsciously can have these recurring thoughts that are just not serving us. They make us feel like shit, and then we don't act on anything because we feel like crap. And their awareness is massive. You know, you're just being aware of what they are and who they are. And there's some processes in NLP that can get rid of them, change them, make them funny, so it no longer has the same emotional effect. But yeah, and another thing that just came up then was look at your goal, and because a lot of people look at goals and they go, yeah, I want that money, I want that success. But are you prepared, and do you want? Do you choose to do the things I said want then? Do you choose to do the things that are going to get you there? Because sometimes the goal isn't worth the cost. And also be very wary of somebody telling you there's only one way to do something. Like, find who you are, do it in your way. Like, find the way that works for you, what makes you happy, what makes you sing, like what lights you up, because there's always a way if it lights you up. And that way will not be the same way as somebody else. So don't think you can't achieve it just because you can't do it the way that somebody else says it has to be done.
Very, very wise words. And yeah, and this is a conversation I've been having over and over again, but it's like, whatever you want, work on your self-worth, you know, because if you don't have that innate self-worth, if you're still got stories running around in your head that you're not good enough because of XYZ, you're too this, you're too that, you're incomplete, you know, all of those thoughts and feelings, you're going to be thinking from a place that's not in alignment, that's not going to get you to a place where you're happy. So it's so important to do this foundational work and really understand how to feel like we truly like and deeply value ourselves. And for a lot of women, it's a whole new experience that, you know, it's obviously a step-by-step process. Like, we've got a long way to go. There's a reason that women statistically have less confidence than men do. But it doesn't matter what the reasons are, what the stories are. The most important thing is to notice what are the stories that are going on for us, and just be curious, how can I value myself more? What would it feel like to really value myself on a deeper level? How can I do that? And just practicing and getting in touch with that. because, you know, and I've seen it, this has been a journey for me as well, like really learning about the self-worth piece and doing all of this mindset work. And it has completely transformed my life and what I'm capable of. You know, I've been working less and less and less, earning more and more and more, but still, you know, if I've noticed as well, and this is a pattern amongst women, we can get really good at manifesting and creating and like bringing more money into our life if we want it, bringing more love into our life if we want it, if we choose to. But if we at a deep level don't believe that we're worth it, it will send it straight away again.
Of course it will. And we do it all the time. And I've done it all the time. I've done it with money and relationships and everything. And the thing is as well, is just enjoying it, like enjoying the process. I never ever want this process to end. Like I know I'll never get there. And that's awesome. Like just reframing that feeling of, oh, well, there's this imaginary end goal. There isn't, you know, because whenever the whole point of the whole reason we were given desire as a rate, you know, as a species was so we could expand, you know, like it wouldn't have been liked if somebody hadn't got to somewhere and gone, actually, let's think a little bit further. Like, so it's accepting that we're never going to be there. Because this goalpost always moves, and that's the good thing. It's just changing your perspective on. I mean, God, the changes I've felt and had just in the last 6 weeks. So, oh my God, keep that coming, because there's nothing better than constantly evolving and constantly coming up with new ideas and changing, you know, your perception and your beliefs and your confidence and your love and your joy, and that's an ever-evolving thing, and you're never going to get there, and that's awesome. You know, there is no end goal. There's just the next thing. So when you achieve the goal that you want to achieve now, another one will open to you. Because why wouldn't it? Because that's what we're built to do. That's what we're built to do. I love it, as you can tell.
Yeah, I love it. And it's definitely it's a theme, especially lately. There's been a lot of talk about self-worth. I think more and more people are sort of waking up to that.
It's the basis of everything. It's the basis of everything. Great self-worth means you're a better mother. It means you're a better wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, employee, boss. You know, hurt people. You've got to get yourself in check. It's the basis of everything. That's why I love it, because any issue can be solved by raising someone's self-worth and self-love. Period.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, one of my coaches, I love the conversation that she has around just, you know, stop having the it's difficult conversation, like, oh, it's so difficult because I'm like this and yada 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 and I have to change and da 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 da. And it's like, no, just decide it's going to be easy. Just make that choice. Keep making that choice. Make that choice a habit. But definitely, I would say that, you know, it's that faith piece that's a muscle that you need to build to be able to trust that, oh, this feels good, because it's switching from thinking logically to thinking intuitively and really following those hunches. And that's something that, you know, we've been like trained out of or conditioned out of. And it's that little quiet voice. It's those really subtle instincts. But the more you start to do it, the more, you know, the louder they become, the more sensitive you become to those little nudges. And one thing I think that's kind of an issue for women is having faith and investing and stepping out and really committing, you know, that self-worth piece, that self-love piece of choosing to give ourselves the things that support us in terms of our health, our wellness, time, you know, support, and spending money on the things that are going to come back to us in that way, because often we're trained and conditioned into spending money if we're going to see like a specific, very logical, tangible outcome. So that I think sometimes can hold us back. I know for a long time I, you know, tried to potter along and like set up my business by myself and figure things out through like free content on the internet. And it's really once I gave myself permission to receive support and work with people who could support me, and realizing that it's not possible to do anything alone. You can't do anything alone. So it's really important to have that peace and have that faith in stepping out and really investing money in ourselves, and providing whatever it is that we need to feel good is like the most valuable decision that we can make.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've had that massive same shift as you. You know, I invested thousands in my development, thousands and hours. And the thing is, I love about that is that, you know, when I'm working with a client, and I'm going to have a real mix of different price points. You know, when I've got some online stuff that's going to be self-study and one-to-one coaching, is that I want it to be accessible to everybody, but I also want people to get really great value from it. But they're going to get great value because I've spent lots of money learning, you know, what I know. So lots of time and heartbreak and, you know, and experience, and that has value to it, you know. And you can't, if you don't invest in yourself, yet you're expecting someone to invest in you, that just doesn't work. Like energetically, that just doesn't work. You know, you've got to be absolutely but that comes down to your self-worth. Well, why would I spend money on myself? You obviously have to think you're worth it to spend out, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds, whatever, on yourself. So if you don't want to spend it on yourself, that's a self-worth question. Why do I not think I'm worth this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like the question why. I like to think, how would I want to feel instead, is a much more positive and forward-thinking question rather than why. I don't tend to ask that question very often.
What was that like? Why do I feel a certain way?
I just don't agree. If you ask your brain a question, it will give you an answer, and that answer might not serve you, and that answer might not be true. That answer could come from your subconscious if you're not. I always describe. So if you're not familiar with, I always describe NLP as talking to your inner child, talking to the 7-year-old version of you who takes everything seriously, believes everything she's told, and she just knows. She has this belief, and when she's whispering to you, subconsciously you know you're worth it. She's whispering to you that you're not. So NLP talks to that girl and changes that point of view. But so I don't ask the question. I don't ever ask clients, why do you feel that way? Why? Because if you ask the question, you'll get an answer, and the answer necessarily isn't for you. But the question instead is, okay, so that's how you feel now. How do you want to feel instead? What do you want instead of that? And then that's a much more forward-thinking, positive direction for your thought. The brain is very obedient. Ask it a question, it'll give you an answer. Why can't I fit my jeans? Because you ate a cake yesterday. If you ask it, why can't I fit my jeans? Your brain's not going to go to you, because you know you're beautiful and those jeans don't need to be on you. That's not what your brain's going to say. Your brain's going to say to you, well, you're a fat ass, that's why you can't fit in your jeans. So it's not always on your side. It's not always on your side. So don't ask why. Don't stand in the shit and ask why. Just ask, what do I want instead, and move forward.
Amazing. Yeah, powerful questions. Keeping on top of that internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Engaging that little inner child that has all of those messed up beliefs from when it was younger.
Yeah. Bless her. And a good way to think of that is just, I always say, thank you for trying to protect me. Yeah, I'm a big girl now, I can make my decision. And then follow that girl. Follow your intuition.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this incredible wisdom and inspiration with us.
Pleasure. I loved it.
And yeah, really great. I think we've had a bit of, I don't know if the stream it went a bit blurry at some point, but I've got a recording. So what I'll probably do is upload that with a bit of a better image for everybody. So if anyone has any questions for Charlotte or for myself and anything that we've talked about, feel free to tag us below in the comments. And Charlotte, how can people stay in touch with you going forward?
So I have a Facebook group called Self-Love and Law of Attraction, that's not the URL because I've just changed it. So I'll post the group in there. Obviously, I'm on Facebook, Charlotte Pridmore, Instagram, Charlotte Pridmore. So it's just my name pretty much everywhere. But I'll post the group. But yeah, I'm in there, and I just do lots of just free content lives. I've got a self-love little workshop coming up soon. I've got a 5-step back to love process coming up soon. So there's lots of exciting stuff happening. So yeah, I would love you in there.
Amazing. I can't wait to see all of the incredible goodies that you're going to be sharing with us. But those of you who haven't heard and are interested, I have also just launched my Self-Worth Magic program, which is very related to what we've been talking about today. So if that feels something that you're interested in, nipping some of those stories in the bud, message me and I'll share more information about that with you. So thank you so much, Charlotte. And I can't wait to see all of your amazing content and stuff coming up.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved every minute of it.
Thank you. Lots of love. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.